Honestly, guys, the city is looking a little empty these days. I mean, obviously we have this lovely main street here, which I'm super proud of, and it leads down this way into the castle and whatnot, but outside of that, we have a few other buildings here, but not a whole lot else. So today we're going to change that by completely finishing the street here behind me. That's right, that is a grand total of six builds that we're going to be doing. So without further ado, let's get started on those builds time-lapse style. And build number 1 is done. So very similar to that building over there. This is another little stable, right? Another little place where you can dock your horse. Dock, that doesn't sound right, but where you can put your horse, and they can enjoy some hay and water and whatnot. While you got to go do some shopping or trading in the city, whatever it is you're here to do, because right, the city's going to kind of end here as we get out into the countryside and over to the sniffer farm and whatnot. So I figured it would make sense to have another place to kind of keep your horse, another little stable. So if we look at the side here, nothing too crazy going on, just more like this reddish tone palette, whatever, with brick, granite, terracotta. And then I think jungle works there as well. And we kind of worked in the looms because, well, it wouldn't be a Viper build if I didn't find a way to put the loom side texture in it, because I just love that so much. I also really like this little awning. This build is going to be right up against it, so we don't have a sign here. But yeah, just a little something to kind of give it some variety, give it a little bit of depth as you're coming into the city this way, right? It kind of goes above the sidewalk there. But believe it or not, this one does have an interior. Not going to be a common trend in today's video, but we'll get to them eventually. We just kind of have like a little storage sitting area here, some paintings, and then I tried to include these like shelves high up, and a lot of the pots, as you'll see continued in here. I figured, one, it's good for like flowers and stuff, but it could also be like maybe they're storing like grain or whatever here for the horses. But yeah, just more storage in here. Some candles to keep it nice and lit up, and then a bed, which I think is a nice touch because, again, I'm trying to make this place as functional as possible. So having like, I don't know, 3 or 4 different places that I can sleep if it gets night out in the city is kind of an important one for me. So that's what's going on there. And then a quick little fly over the roof. Nothing too crazy, right? The red already sticks out enough, so I wanted to make this more of like a natural kind of color. So that's why we just got some of the different grays in here. And a little bit of the green grass, almost like, the person that lives here, they're so preoccupied with the horses that they don't even care that there's like grass and lichen growing out of the roof. They're just more concerned with the horses themselves. Okay, I want to do these next two as a pair because they're very colorful, we'll say. So I think it's going to make sense if we do them both at the same time here. So we're going to lump them into one time lapse here as we keep on plugging away at the city. 2 more builds in the book, and the street is starting to come together. Now, first things first, you guys might notice some bees flying around, and it's not just because of these flowers everywhere. It's actually because of this little strip right here. So in the pink house, we'll call it for now, I really like the idea of having these ladders over top of the honeycomb. It gives you this cool like stripe texture, or not honeycomb, sorry, beehives. But oh, see, you saw it just a second ago there. There are, yeah, a lot of bees that live inside of these hives. So, okay, yeah. Oh, there we go. Perfect timing. So yeah, no interior, but this, maybe we'll have to make this something with bees, because honestly, I don't really know what to put in this building. I just really like the colors, right? We got some yellow, some blues, some pinks, some reds, all kind of up and down the street. And if we go into free cam, it is really starting to look good, right? It's really starting to come together and add to the city. But nothing too crazy going on here, right? Just a pink palette, kind of like our plant shop over on the corner there, right? Same kind of deal, although maybe a little less hectic, as we just have some cherry wood, some pink glazed terracotta, some pink concrete powder, and then cherry planks. So yeah, I think the pink works really well with the copper in the roof, but nothing too crazy, and just some bones in there to give it like a pop of white. Moving on to this build here, this blue one is definitely got to be one of my favorites in the city. Now, I do think maybe adding in some of like the warp shelves or just shelves in general could be cool in here. I designed most, if not, actually, I think all of the buildings in the city currently before the update came out, like months before, so shelves didn't even exist, but maybe we could do some updating. But anyways, I think this is really cool. I want this to be and like apothecary or like potion shop, because this is giving very like witchy kind of vibes. Especially I went ahead and after the time lapse there and added in some frog lights behind here. It just feels very like ominous, but I could see it being very fitting right on the outskirts of the city. Maybe this is like a creepier shop, right? They got fungus and warts and stuff that maybe they use to put in their potions. So I think that this one is going to be a pretty welcome addition to the city, although I will say no interior, but this could be a fun one to work on, you know, somewhere down the line. And now with those two builds out of the way, I want to go ahead and connect the blue and yellow buildings behind me with something a little less colorful. So let's go ahead and add this in, and then it'll be on to the last building of today's episode. And the street is pretty much done, aside from this building here, but we'll talk about that in a minute. First, I want to take a look at this build here. So much like the side of the red brick horse stable there, we have a cute little awning. So yep, just a fun little design, something I've added in more, and even we'll go around to the other side. Oop, this guy needs out. There we go, buddy. He got trapped in there. I feel like that's going to be happening a lot. But yeah, I added an awning into the other side. I just think it's a cute little detail to add into the city. Speaking of details too, I have just little like bits and bobs, storage and whatnot kind of scattered around here. Lanterns, candles for light. I do like using these bamboo trapdoors as well as windows. I think they kind of look like our scaffolding, which is like a really common thing in the city. So you can see by just about every build on the street here. But they're kind of like a nice alternative. We still get that little pop of yellow color there. but it's maybe a little like inset, or like it's like an inlay into the window almost. So they're seated back a little farther. But if we continue up, we transition into like this wooden beam kind of thing. And then using composters, which I love, love, love composters. Looks super cool with the signs. And then we get into this part, which is definitely duller, right? It's more of a neutral tone, that brown and the grayish black gradient at the bottom, but it still has enough color with the windows using bamboo. So I actually, if I fly in here, you can see I waterlogged some stairs next to the grass to be able to use these as windows. And I think it gives it just enough of a color pop to kind of stick out. And same thing with these cherry leaves, although I do think I like the cherry leaves. I think they're nice when you look at it like from afar. If I just fly on over here, I think with the pink from the pink house, it's a nice little addition. But yeah, I guess I'm still not super sold on them, but I do like them. I think it's not bad. Then over from this side, which we kind of got to go back into the wheat farm, which is overflowing. Okay, I mean, that's good. It's efficient, but I'll deal with that later off camera. Yeah, we got the awning here, same kind of window, same kind of chests, barrels, all that good stuff. And then I did want to point out that, you know, we have these little shutters, some more signs, the campfires, and then the dirt, which I think is actually really cool. I've seen a couple of builders use dirt in builds, and usually it's like, oh, you know, dirt hut, oh, this sucks kind of thing. But when used mixed in here with like mud and stuff, it kind of, it makes sense. So I think I'm going to start doing that more in some of these more brown tone builds. Oh, ignore that. This is actually part of this build here, but sorry, that just caught my eye. But the last thing I wanted to mention before we get on to the last build are these trapdoors. I think these ones specifically, same thing like the other side, I think those could really look cool as shelves. So maybe that's something that I'm going to swap out. We'll see. And last but not least, our final build in the city here today is going to be this little corner behind me. It's going to be a big one, and it's definitely a little unorthodox. It comes with some lore, but I'm going to explain that afterwards. So just promise me you're going to trust the process while I build here behind me. Don't judge it too harshly, because I think it might end up looking kind of cool once you know the story behind it. So without further ado, sit back, relax, and enjoy the time lapse. All right, I got some explaining to do. This is meant to be, well, obviously an unfinished build, but the idea behind this is that this is some sort of like museum, maybe of, I don't know, like ancient Greece or something, or ancient Rome. Hence, you know, it kind of looks a little bit like the Colosseum if you squint really hard and really use your imagination. But I don't know if maybe there was some sort of weather delay or some sort of big incident, but as you can see, right, there's a couple of big chunks missing. So maybe they kind of have to go back to the drawing board here, or my hypothesis here is that they are still kind of waiting for some materials. So you can see that there's some of the birch that's been stored here, and some of the sand that's stored here that maybe they're turning into sandstone, or maybe they, you know, we're cleaning this up from the walls here and just kind of storing it to reuse. But basically they're waiting on some materials, right? They don't quite have what they need. So this is still kind of an active work site. So we have it blocked off here, no entry. And then obviously we can walk in here, but this is kind of like where the workers would enter. So that's what's going on here with this build. I also wanted to include a lot of like pots and pottery, almost like these were, shipped in from, various places to be exhibits here in the museum. And maybe we could go back in and make what are they called? Sherds? Put the sherds on them to make them a little more unique. I think that could be really cool. But maybe, yeah, like they're so behind on work right now that some of the like exhibits are showing up. So they're just kind of like tossing them around the work site, which I think is kind of a nice little touch. I also, hopefully in the future, when we get started on the fishing village just down there, right, when we transform that, I want to put, I don't know if it's like a little barge or something like that, though. Maybe, I think, yeah, barge is probably what it'll be, carrying a bunch of, sand and sand-like materials, kind of as a nod to this build. So maybe they're, waiting for another shipment to come in from the ocean out that way. And I think that's just kind of a cool way of tying this all together for, maybe my lazy excuse to not do a build here. But I think this is actually really cool. And I'm happier with this than I would be to put something that, is just kind of like half-baked and doesn't really fit the vibe here. So I think what better way than to put a museum? And I think one day we'll actually have to build like a real museum in this world, maybe somewhere in the city. But for now, I am happy with this. And who knows, maybe one day we'll even finish this one. We'll add a new chapter to the lore of our city. But that is all for today. This is everything I wanted to accomplish. I do have some really other cool video ideas coming up here shortly. And if you're a fan of the Afterlife server, then be sure to stick around because Season 6 is starting soon. And guys, I could not be more excited about that. So plenty more in the hardcore world, plenty more on Afterlife coming your way soon. And before we go, I will show you guys a couple of views of it. So obviously this view, not really all that impressive, right? We can see these builds here from this side and, are a little bit close. But if we come in from here, yeah, these look cool. This is starting to feel like a city. But there'll be some more builds here, so that will kind of get masked. But the real view I wanted to show you is when we come up the hill here and we get that first glimpse at the city. So we can come around this way, or we can even go around here and take the longer, more scenic route. But yeah, that looks really awesome with the mountain and the castle in the background. And I just can't wait to get some more stuff added into the city here, you guys. I think it is going to look awesome. But from me and my horse Relish, I just want to say thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you soon.